more about, of course. Andrew, as was Prince Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, being arrested by Thames Valley Police over accusations of misconduct in public office. He is currently in police custody. His home in the Norfolk estate, in the Sandringham Estate, is being searched, as indeed we understand is Royal Lodge, his former home in Berkshire, of course. Let's talk about this now with the former royal editor of The Sun, Charlie Ray, joins us. Charlie, thank you very much for joining us. It's an extraordinary development in this story. I think the one that will come as a surprise to a lot of us, not least to Andrew on his 66th birthday.
Well, yes, if he thought the old Bill were just turning up with a cake, he had another thing coming. There certainly won't be a file to get out of jail quickly on this one. But yeah, absolutely extraordinary what's happened today. Very serious allegations have been lodged against him. As you quite rightly say, the police have arrested him and he's now in custody. He's going to have a lot of answers to an awful lot of questions. And it won't be just Emily Maitlis in that Newsnight interview. These will be guys who will be really, probing exactly what he did, when he did it and how he did it.
Yeah.
And they've got, well, we think they've got certain pieces of evidence because there are emails which suggest that he gave away certain secrets, confidential matters, allegedly.
Yeah, and again, it is. Yeah, we must stress that he has denied any wrongdoing, and of course, it all depends on whether these documents contained in the Epstein files are genuine. And of course, there's quite a high bar for misconduct in public office in terms of your intentions when you do so. I mean, the various different defences to that. Let's just go back a bit though, because look, I've known you for many years. When I was a news reporter, we'd be out on the beat, on the doorsteps, and like you were royal editor, you were royal reporter for far too long, far longer than we can remember. You got close. The Queen used to come over and say hello to you. The King, William and Kate. They know who you are. They chatted with you. You know these people. Your dealings with Andrew, when he was Prince Andrew, he always had a reputation. There was Randy Andy, there was reputations, with the women. There was also, there was a time when he was a war hero when he had fought in the Falklands, but also when he was a UK trade envoy, and that's what these allegations relate to. That he was basically, having a nice time, swanning around the world, being very arrogant and rude to people, playing golf at our expense. What was the Andrew that you met? What was he like? What is he like?
Well, I met him several times, interviewed him a couple of times he was the patron of the NSPCC, if I remember, one of their campaigns, and I interviewed him then. He was always an arrogant man, Julia. There was, when I've met other members of the royal family, it's always been, after you go through the formalities of ma'am and everything else, it's always been, happy conversations. You can have a laugh and a giggle with him. There was nothing like that with Andrew. I mean, he made it clear to you, I am a prince of the realm and you are well below my standing. Yeah. Let's not forget that, So he was always a very difficult. There's always just two types of roles. There's the Andrew ones who want to make it clear that they've got a royal position and you should remember who they are. And then there's the others. Yes, you remember, there's respect and everything else, but they do come across as actually got some sort of humanity. And, a bit, I like you, Julia, I like people who enjoy life. I like people who have a giggle and a laugh with you and talk to you properly.
Yeah.
And
well, I don't like being talked down to, that's for sure.
No. I'm like you. He didn't actually talk down to me, but I wasn't exactly comfortable in his company because I just knew he was a bit. Well, not a bit arrogant. He was more.
Yeah, I mean, this is something I've heard from many people who've had dealings with him. There's the thing about these allegations, of course. These are allegations contained in the Epstein files, and again, they're denying of any wrongdoing. But a lot of people might be wondering, well, hold on a minute. There've been allegations against this man for a very, very long time.
Sure.
Police never even bothered to investigate after the allegations from Virginia Giuffre. Now, my guest Henry Hill is pointing out that these things have never been tested in court, even in the civil case that was brought by Virginia Giuffre in the States. There was a payoff. There was a non-disclosure non-disclosure agreement, all of that. Well, certain amounts of non-disclosure, an awful lot's gone in her books. But she sadly is no longer here, having taken her own life, as many victims of abuse, and we know she was a victim of Jeffrey Epstein, do sadly do. But a lot of people wondering, like, well, how come it's these allegations contained in emails about misconduct in public office that have seen the first arrest of this man, rather than him ever being questioned over goodness knows how many years, the best part of a decade, over the allegations of wrongdoing in relation to young women and girls?
Well, this has surprised me as well, Julia. I cannot understand why the police did not at least speak to Andrew about the allegations made by Virginia Giuffre. There wasn't anything the police here could do about allegations that were in the States, because that's a different organisation completely. But she was claiming that she was trafficked to London to be with the prince. Now that surely is something that can be challenged, as well as what did the bodyguards actually know? Did they turn a blind eye? I think the Met actually had a cursory look at one of the bodyguards and said, well, there's nothing here, move on. Well, that's not good enough.
But that was a specific allegation, again, contained in leaked Epstein files, that Andrew had said to one of his bodyguards, or written to him, saying, can you dig up some dirt on Virginia Giuffre? Now, simply asking that would be misconduct in public office. A police officer then doing that would absolutely be misconduct in public office by that officer. But we've had no investigation.
How that poor officer was supposed to try and work out something that was, a United States Social Security number, everything's based in the net. How are you supposed to work that out from Windsor? I mean, it's an impossible. One can only think, well, he clearly didn't do it, because how could he possibly do it? But they still need to have a look at. I mean, there are, in one of the emails, I think it quite clearly states from Epstein that 2 of Andrew's bodyguards were actually with him at that house in New York. Now, unless they were walking around blindfolded and cotton wool stuck in their ears, they must have seen something or other. They may not have been in the same room as Andrew, whoever else he was.
And we've got the same on the island, and we've got testimony from staff and indeed from many others who've been on that island, and some of the young women who were victims. That it was just, it was impossible to ignore. Again, lots of questions to answer, but this is something that we've discussed with Di Davies, who you had on the show earlier, former head of Royal Protection, and indeed Dickie Arbiter, who was press secretary to the late Queen, and he's coming on the show later. And they both said in recent months, look, and Andrew Lowney, the royal author as well, the idea that this information was known by Royal Protection officers, that it didn't go to senior, Met officers, that it didn't go up the chain of command in Buckingham Palace, that the Queen's, most political, private secretary didn't know, that the then Prince of Wales, now King Charles's senior staff didn't know, and that they didn't know, is questionable. Do you think there are now issues for the monarchy as a whole, and does this arrest perhaps help King Charles, or does it hurt him, because the damage is being done to the royal institution, but there's also an element where people are going, no one's above the law?
No, I think it helps the king and the other members of the royal family. I mean, they're going to be tainted with this arrest and everything else, but it does help because, Julia, what has been happening just recently, and we saw even Prince William in Saudi Arabia, there are questions being shouted out at members of the royal family when they turn up on royal visits about what did you know about Andrew. Now, this should satisfy, I hope, would satisfy people. There is only so much, I think Henry was actually the one who said, there's only so much the king could have done, and he's done everything he could do. He's not responsible for prosecutions of anybody,
or for his brother. I mean, we've all got family members. We're not responsible for what they do. That said, when you contribute to a fund of £1.5 million, by all accounts, according to the Sun, to pay a woman who's alleged wrongdoing by your brother, and when you are basically funding his lifestyle, as he was, and he still is, in Norfolk, but was in Windsor, to a certain extent, people would say, well, you do have a responsibility.
But the king is funding his lifestyle at the moment out of his own pocket. It's not coming out of your purse or my wallet or anything like that, or your viewers and listeners. So it's not coming out of taxpayers' money. So from that point of view, there is not much else the king or the Prince of Wales could have done. They've done everything they possibly can. We now got to wait now for the law to take its process.
Yes.
And I would hope that we don't forget about those poor innocent victims, that the other allegations surround about that they are in still time for them to be investigated
Yeah.
as well. I know Virginia Giuffre's died, unfortunately, but there was this supposed Russian girl who was shipped in here and who went to Buckingham Palace. Well, we don't know what happened behind closed doors, but clearly, you know, she wasn't there to read his fortune.
No,
Uh,
and not there for his great conversation.
no,
We've got 9 different police forces working together, haven't we? Charlie Ray, great to hear from you, former
and
royal
you.
editor of The Sun. I have a feeling we'll be talking about this for quite some time to come. I'm going to take